Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Today's story was written by Reddit user 11 Velociraptors. Their links will be in the description down below. Feel free to check them out. Also, thank you everyone for 5,000 subscribers. This is absolutely insane. Alright, I won't hold you too long. Let's dive into today's story. I turned 18 in 2008, and on my birthday, for reasons I won't bore you with, I packed up my things and moved out. For the next 4 years, I lived in my car, working as a barista from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and as a line cook from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. My plan was simple: save up enough money to get my own place, then either go to college or find a more stable job. Looking back now, I'm not sure how I managed it, but by the time I was 22, I'd saved a decent amount and began searching for a semi-permanent place to live. At the time, I was living in Los Angeles. Housing prices weren't as outrageous as they are today, but it was still an expensive county. After months of asking around, I was put in touch with Anders, an elderly man leasing a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house in North Hollywood for far below market rate. Of course, there was a catch, because there's always a catch with affordable housing. The house was in terrible shape. It had been vacant for a year and required serious TLC before most people would consider living there. But after 4 years of living in a car, I wasn't most people. As long as the place had running water, it was an upgrade. I moved into the house in the fall of 2012. Anders gave me a tour before I settled in. He was a short, cheerful old man, well-meaning, but, how do I put this, not the most focused, likely due to his age. At one point during the tour, he showed me the bathroom, then the master bedroom, then the bathroom again, followed by the master bedroom a second time. He was on his way to the bathroom for a third round before I gently redirected him down the hall. The house itself was livable, but just barely. Dim lighting from outdated fixtures cast long shadows over peeling wallpaper. The ceilings in several rooms were stained from old leaks. The kitchen faucet was broken, the bathtub was chipped, and a few cabinet handles fell off in my hand. It was a run-down place in a neighborhood where bars on the windows weren't uncommon. Still, it was mine. I couldn't stop smiling when Anders handed me the keys. "It's a good house with good bones. You take care of it now," Anders said as he handed me the keys. The irony wasn't lost on me. Before he left, he paused in the front doorway, rubbing his chin as he glanced back into the house. His gaze lingered, and I instinctively turned to see what he was looking at. "Everything all right?" I asked. "Yes. Just that something looks different about that bathroom, though I can't put my finger on it." "Well, it's a good house with good bones. You take care of it now." With a final nod, he stepped out and left me to my unpacking. I hadn't realized how much I missed living in a house until I moved in. I didn't care how run-down the place was. Having an accessible bathroom and a full-size mattress to sleep on made me feel like royalty. After spending a few days cleaning and tidying up, I invited my sister and her fiancé over for dinner. It might sound silly, but being able to host guests in my own home gave me a sense of pride. Before I knew it, I'd settled comfortably into my new life. That evening, after saying goodbye to my guests, I decided to take a shower. The bathroom didn't have a traditional mirror above the sink. Instead, a wide, full-length mirror was mounted on the wall to the left of the vanity. When I stepped out of the shower, I walked up to the glass and raised a hand to wipe away the fog. That's when I noticed something strange. In the condensation, At eye level was the word hi. I froze, staring at it. The letters seemed deliberate, too precise to be random patterns in the steam. My sister had used the bathroom just before she left. Maybe she had written the word with her fingertip, and the steam had revealed it after my shower. That explanation made sense, but it still felt odd. I even considered texting her about it, but stopped halfway through typing the message. It sounded ridiculous, paranoid even. I wiped the mirror clean, brushed off the unease, and went to bed. Before long, I'd forgotten about it entirely. The following week, I received a promotion at one of my jobs. While I was grateful for the additional income, the new position came with longer hours. On top of that, I realized that some of the house repairs were beyond my ability, so I started hiring contractors to handle the more complicated work. It was frustrating to only have the house to myself at night, but with my busy schedule, I didn't have much choice. Overall, things were progressing smoothly, until the occasional, unexplainable noise in the middle of the night began to disrupt my sleep. It wasn't until I'd been living in the house for about a month that I noticed writing on the mirror again. This second incident occurred in much the same way as the first. After a long day at work, I stepped out of the shower, wiped the fogged-up mirror, and froze. There, etched in the condensation, were the words, "Staying long." 2 letters could be a coincidence, but a 2-word question? That was no accident. Someone had been in my bathroom, and recently. My first thought was that one of the contractors might have done it, perhaps as some weird joke. But why? And if not them, then who? I quickly got dressed and stood with my hand on the bathroom doorknob, hesitating. What if whoever had written the message was still in the house? Slowly, I cracked the door open, peeking down the dark hallway, first one way, then the other. I strained to listen, my ears searching for the faintest sound. Nothing. My heart was pounding as I carefully walked through the house, checking every room. It didn't take long, given the size of the place. All the doors were locked, all the windows were shut tight, and none of my belongings seemed out of place. If someone had been there, they were long gone. The second message unsettled me for days. I started triple-checking the locks on my windows and doors every night. When I got home from work, I would search every nook and cranny in the house, though truthfully, there weren't many places for anyone to hide. Still, no matter how secure I made the house, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A month passed without incident. Slowly, I began to feel comfortable again, even at home in my new space. Then, one Friday morning, I woke abruptly, just past 3 a.m. At first, I wasn't sure what had disturbed me. The house often creaked and groaned in the night as it settled, almost as if it were alive, but now it was silent, eerily silent. It was only when I turned my head to the side that I saw it. My bedroom door, which I was certain I had shut before going to bed, was wide open. I stared down the hallway, feeling as though I were gazing into a black hole. The darkness was abyssal. I kept waiting for my eyes to adjust, waiting for them to pick out the familiar shapes of my home. But they never did. I couldn't see a thing. So why did I feel like something could see me? Like there was something in the house with me, just feet beyond the threshold to my bedroom, watching, waiting. Somehow, I found the courage to rise from my bed and walk toward the door. When I made it to the handle, I grabbed it and slammed the door shut. I didn't investigate further, didn't so much as stick my head out into the hall for a closer look. My bedroom door didn't have a lock. None of the doors except the bathroom did. So I dragged my bookcase in front of the door. It was a small bookcase, and an intruder could probably ram the door open anyway if they wanted to. But not before the sound alerted me. When morning came, and I had to leave the house for work, I genuinely considered exiting my house through the window. I was almost late by the time I worked up the nerve myself to look around my house before I left. As always, I found nothing amiss. After work, I reluctantly returned home for the night. Exhausted and uneasy, I ate a quick dinner and hopped in the shower. Standing in the tub, I let the water cascade over me as my mind churned through the possibilities. I'd heard horror stories about people secretly living in others' homes. Frogs, they called them. Could I have become someone's unknowing victim? But if that were true, where the hell were they? The house was tiny, with nowhere to hide. I'd torn the place apart multiple times by now, checking every cabinet, closet, and crawl space. The inside of the house couldn't be accessed from the crawl space, and the air vents were far too small for anyone to fit in. There was no logical explanation. Suddenly, I heard a faint click. It was so quiet, I almost dismissed it as my imagination. My heart raced as I tore back the shower curtain, gripping the shampoo bottle in my hand like a makeshift weapon. I scanned the room, every muscle tensed, ready to confront whoever or whatever might be there. But as always, the room was empty. Except this time, there was something new. My eyes darted to the mirror, and I froze. A fresh message had appeared, bold and unmistakable, more legible than any of the others I'd seen before. 3 words. I see you. A sickening mix of fear, confusion, and anger churned in my stomach, but anger quickly took hold. I hastily dried off, threw on some clothes, and snatched my phone from the bathroom counter. As I glared at the mirror, I punched in Anders' number, my finger trembling with frustration. The phone rang endlessly, each tone feeding my irritation. Just as I began to think it was too late for him to be awake, he answered. His cheerful tone grated on my nerves as he asked how I was settling into the house. I cut him off sharply. I need you to tell me if there's any way someone could be getting into this house. My voice was firm, edged with panic. Every night, I check every window and door, every cupboard, closet, and cabinet. And still, things are happening, things I can't explain. Is there some entry point I'm not aware of? There was a pause. Anders seemed confused. What? What's getting in? If it's rats, you just let me know. The last tenant had some trouble with rats now and then. Yeah, let's call it rats, I snapped, trying to keep my composure. But other than the doors and windows, how could they be getting in? Well, Anders began thoughtfully. There's the vents, of course. And there used to be a chimney. But we had that sealed up a long time ago. Then there's the crawl space, though I imagine you've already taken a look down there. Though I knew the house had a crawl space, I'd never had much reason to investigate it. I couldn't even find the entrance. After tearing up all the carpeting in the house, I assumed the access door had been covered when hardwood was installed, making it an unlikely point of entry for an intruder. How do I get down to the crawl space? I pressed. Yes, you should give the crawl space a gander, Anders replied vaguely. I clenched the phone so tightly I thought it might crack. I plan to. Where can I find the entrance? That'll be on the floor of the bathroom closet. I froze, staring around the bathroom. Surely I'd misheard him. Or maybe he was confused again. What? I know, it's an odd place for it, Anders continued as though it were obvious. but it's only there because that room didn't always used to be a bathroom. I glanced around again, my pulse quickening. The bathroom doesn't have a closet. Of course it does, Anders said cheerfully, just to the left of the vanity. My gaze snapped to the mirror. The long, oversized floor-to-ceiling mirror I'd always found peculiar for a bathroom of this size. What was it that Anders had said when he first showed me the house? That something looked different about the bathroom? Setting my phone down next to the sink, I stepped up close to the glass. I spent a few moments feeling around the frame, looking for a latch. Then I grabbed a portion of the right side of the frame in 2 hands. After one hard yank, the mirror swung open like a door, revealing a large walk-in closet. Anders was saying something on the other end of the line, but I was too stunned to answer. There was a square-shaped hole at the back of the closet, which I assumed led down to the crawl space beneath the house. The closet floor was littered with all kinds of trash. Filthy sheets, fast food containers, beer cans, and I realized some of my own items. Little things I thought I'd misplaced. A sock, a toothbrush, a comb, and a small framed photograph of me, my sister, and our old family dog. I crouched down to pick up the photo, perched in the doorway as I studied my younger, smiling self. I heard Anders saying my name over the phone. Except the voice didn't sound much like Anders at all. It was too deep, too clear, too close. When I looked up, a man was peeking out at me from the hole in the floor. He smiled at me, his eyes wide and pupils blown, his smile so wide it looked painful, and his hair long and matted. He was only visible from the neck up, and the harsh lighting made it look like a disembodied head was grinning at me from the back of the closet. Horrified, I rose to my feet and ran. I didn't stop running until I made it to my car, which I promptly drove to my sister's house. The next day, I drove to the police station to file a report. An officer met me at the house to check the scene, and I showed him the hidden closet, which indeed had an entrance to the crawl space. My best guess was that the intruder was entering my crawl space from the small door on the side of my house. He'd likely been squatting in the house during the year in which it sat unoccupied, and when he saw it was being prepared for sale, he had disguised the closet door so as to keep a little room for himself. Why he decided to stay, or why he was leaving me messages, I can't say. From his actions and from what little I saw of him, I think it's safe to assume that he wasn't of sound mind. Unfortunately, the man was never found. For all I know, he's still in that same neighborhood. Hell, he might even be in the same house. I moved across the county afterwards and have lived in studio apartments ever since. The thought of living in a big house with all those rooms and corners and places to hide gives me the creeps. It's not just houses that the incident soured for me, but mirrors as well. These days, when I visit a friend or stay at a hotel, I always have to carefully inspect the bathroom mirrors, shining a light directly into their faces and tapping a finger against the glass. Because the worst detail of the whole ordeal was that, when revisiting the bathroom with the police officer, I stepped into the old closet, closed the door, and looked into the mirror. Instead of the mirror backing, I saw the officer's face on the other side of the glass.